Hi, it's Hazel. Welcome to my channel. I kind of debated with myself whether or not it is an appropriate video to talk about making masterboard bases. And then I decided that, yes, of course it is, because when I first fell into the world of YouTube watching and junk journal making, it was like being introduced to a foreign language. I didn't know anything about anything, and it took watching a lot of videos to sort of get the hang of what is going on and what people are talking about. So I guess I need to remind myself, even though I'm not that much further along on the journey, I do have to keep reminding myself that there are people who may be tuning into YouTube and don't know what the heck anyone is talking about. Excuse me. So this is going to be one of my 100-day challenge projects because it is quick and easy. I'll define what a masterboard is according to my understanding, and I will carry on with the one I've already begun. Okay, so a masterboard is essentially the product of collage using a variety of materials on a variety of substrates for the purpose of using up bits and pieces, and then knowing that you can cut those masterboards up in a way that will, I managed to glue down a hair, in a way that will allow, for whatever finished product you want. So that could be journal cards or pockets or whatever. Masterboards can be done on book pages. I know that a year or two ago, Rachel at Roxy Creations had sort of created a, kind of a mile-long one, just gluing book page after book page to each other and, sort of collaging the whole back of it. I think it's Nick the Booksmith that maybe first talked about Franken boards, and that basically tends to involve, from my understanding, tends to involve decorative stitching. In this particular case, I'm using a piece of fairly thin scrapbook paper that is in itself pretty garish and something that I would never use as is, especially in those colors. So in a recent video, I was also talking about how I had received in a I guess in a bundle in some thrift haul, a bunch of these panels, pages, whatever you want to call them. They, it's cardstock that's been mounted on a coffee filter using double-sided tape. It's kind of an oddball shape, not something that a person would routinely encounter. And because it has double-sided tape, it tends to be, really sticky too. So there's no good way to store these. Okay, this one isn't sticky, this side is. There's no good way to store these things. So I just vowed to myself that I was going to, for once and for all, even though, maybe it falls into the category of procrastination or whatever, maybe not the most productive thing that I could be doing at this particular moment, I vowed that enough is enough and I'm going to get this done. So that is what I'm going to do. Now I should show you, and typically when I do any collaging, I just slip it under my mat here. So let me show you a couple that I already did. Now, typically when I do masterboards, I tend to like torn rectilinear shapes. So, you know, this, because of the shape of these things, I've got a lot of sort of triangular shapes going on here. Again, it's not the end of the world, and it just goes to show that sometimes we need to adapt, and maybe there's nothing wrong with being forced to adapt. So there's this. Another thing that some people like to do is when the time comes, they flip these masterboards over and do the trimming sort of blind. So, for instance, a 12 by 12 piece of paper, some people will choose, you know, to make 3-inch wide tags. So they get 4 of those across the 12 inches and maybe have them 6 inches tall. So a cut this way and then those cuts. Not knowing and kind of being pleasantly surprised usually how it actually turns out when you flip it over. So these are essentially the 2 that I created so far. And you can see that I tried to, you know, stick to colors that, you know, had some connection to each other. Although maybe on this one, the blue sort of jumps out at you, but there are other, you know, bits of blue. So again, not going to be super critical of the result because this is just the base. What a person would then do, either before or after cutting it, is to further embellish. So in other words, you know, putting on sentiments, maybe gluing on lace or ribbon or focal points of some sort. A lot of people like using butterflies and fussy cut flowers and that sort of thing. Again, personal preference. A person may be doing this in advance of knowing, you know, what the real next project is going to be. It could be done just because maybe you don't have we don't have the creative oomph to do anything more demanding. And again, being at the end of your rope with the clutter that sometimes surrounds us. So I am going to stop talking and continue gluing. Again, this particular thing is more complicated and annoying than a person would typically be dealing with because I've got these sticky strips. You know, sometimes, like I prefer this side to this side. However, there isn't that much blue here, and that's where I've got all that gooey tape. So what I've kind of figured out in doing these other 2 masterboards is that it helps to go to the sticky side, kind of peel the tape off where I can, because it doesn't tear worth a darn with the tape on there. And like I said before, I don't particularly like these pie-shaped pieces, but not to be confused with the idea that I don't like pie, because of course I do. So again, you know, the nature of unless I wasted a whole bunch more of the paper, the nature of the shape is sort of determining how this is ultimately shaping up. And again, I don't want to prejudge the results at all because still have a hair there. I thought I got it. Because of course I haven't done this before, so how can I say that it's not good? So, you know, usually, especially if a person is using neutrals or something like that, usually we're encouraged not to think too hard. You know, just get it down. Get it down, get it down, get it down. I don't really like the very straight edges. However, if I depending where I'm putting it, I don't necessarily need to waste time trimming the edge, because sometimes I don't have that much surplus really to fool around with. So, oh, why did I suddenly decide to include purple? That wasn't the plan. I guess it works though. Do I have enough blue? I've got more of that. What the heck, let's throw some purple in there. So, again, personal preference. Like if this was all neutrals, and quite often you'll see people doing all neutral masterboards, because then of course it gives you a ready-to-use base that can go any way depending on the theme of the journal. And doesn't need a great deal of thought, and that's usually that's the advice. Don't think, just glue. And I think that's probably why most people love Masterboard so much. It is kind of a meditative process. It's, it's no fuss, no muss. It's not demanding. There really isn't any measuring involved. And I know how some people hate measuring. So it's, one thing that I've noticed has changed a bit in my own technique is that, well, other than this, I'm leaning to bigger pieces and not kind of these dinky little ones that, are so kind of busy looking. I don't know what you can see. I know I have to keep moving left. You probably know that if you don't want the white edge to show, you sort of pull away from yourself. I hope that dollar store mat is not creating some or too much glare for you. Earlier today, I was watching a video. Well, I watched several, but I was watching, the one I'm thinking about now was one on repurposing broken jewelry. And I'm thinking, well, I have a lot of jewelry. I have broken jewelry. I have jewelry that I made myself. I have jewelry that I, for whatever reason, have stopped wearing. I'm thinking, well, hey, why have I stopped wearing it? I could easily, begin again. The problem that I have, and I know certainly I'm not alone in this, is that I'm allergic to, well, I guess people would say the nickel in costume jewelry. So the only kind that I can wear without getting a red itchy rash is, gold or stainless steel. Because of course, if you had a pin put in your knee or your ankle or whatever, you wouldn't want something that, causes the patient to have an allergic reaction. So I guess there's some sort of content there that is pure enough that it allows the body part to heal and tissue to grow around it without causing a problem for anybody. So that's what I've got. And the beauty of stainless, gold of course is expensive. Stainless steel is, well, or at least it used to be, relatively cheap. So you could get a nice looking ring or something for not very much money. So I have chains and pendants and rings. And basically, now that I'm at home, I never wear any of it. And I know, and this is something I kind of smile to myself every time I see it. I'm always amazed when I see YouTubers all decked out in what to me looks like really nice clothing. You know, long sleeves that go past the wrist, and they're dangly, not dangly, but, you know, ruffles, and usually white. I'm thinking, holy cow. What I wear at home, day in and day out, and while videotaping, is what I would call farm clothes. So they're the comfy, worn in, splattered, you know, frayed, scary looking stuff that I don't care about. And I'm like those little kids that every time they get their hands dirty, they wipe them on their pants. Well, hey, that's me. Because I don't want to have to worry about the state of my clothing. So, yeah, anyway, in back to the jewelry, I'm thinking, well, maybe I should wear some jewelry when I'm creating or doing videotapes, because it would give the viewer something to look at other than the project at hand. And it would make me feel like, oh yeah, it's good that I have all that stuff. So I don't know if I'm going to do that or not, but it's also funny that I don't even wear, I have 2 sets of holes in my ears. So sleepers that, you know, day in and day out, 365 days a year, sleep with and so on. And then another set that I put earrings in when I go out. So if I'm gone for the day, say to the bright lights of the city, I will put on my typical 4 rings. 3 of which are very nice gold. And then the 4th one, which is stainless steel. And the thing is, Joe Public doesn't know which is which. Anyway, and earrings. And maybe sometimes a pendant or pendant or bracelet. And the minute I get home, I peel all that stuff off, put it away, and get back into my farm clothes. And yeah, comfort level. So again, that's neither here nor there, I guess. But I guess the point and the reason I brought it up is that video made me think about jewelry and whether or not I should be doing a little more about either wearing it. I know I've given some to my daughter already in anticipation of her being my heir, or one of my heirs. And, you know, most of this stuff is going to be hers someday. Some pieces like that I've already given. And also, you know, like, if I'm not wearing it, then maybe I should be taking it apart for this sort of stuff. Anyway, I better speed up here, because I don't want this to take forever. And I know I say that in practically every video, but really I am cognizant that time is precious. It is frankly the only thing that nobody's making more of it. Well, I guess nobody's making more land either, but nobody is making more time, so we have to all be pretty, see what I mean? It doesn't tear worth a darn. We have to be pretty vigilant and, you know, really wise as to how we spend our time. And if you are, you know, have chosen to gather up some supplies and are doing something as you're, watching or listening to me, then great, then certainly you're being ultra productive, and that's great. I know that most of the time, whether it's a Netflix movie or the 6 o'clock news or YouTube, I am almost always doing something else. I used to pride myself on the notion of being a great multitasker until some studies came out that said, yeah, that's an illusion. Anybody who thinks that they're so darn productive as a multitasker is deluding themselves, because in fact, when you think you're multitasking, you're in fact not that efficient. You keep having a break in your train of thought, and and are probably doing a disservice to everything, every task that you think you're. And I, to be honest, I believe that, because I know that quite often I'll have the TV on, basically just providing white noise. So if I'm, slow stitching or collaging or whatever, thinking, oh yeah, I know what's going on. Well, not really. If I had a nickel for every time I restarted watching the same movie, because I had no recollection of having seen it before, I'd be a rich woman. So yeah, sometimes I think we fool ourselves a bit. But then that's one of the advantages of a poor memory. Even if I think, oh yeah, I've seen that before. Oh yeah, that opening or that character or whatever looked familiar. Because of a lousy memory, I still don't know how it ends. So I end up watching it again anyway. So yeah, it's kind of sad. Now these papers are all. I wish I'd have. But again, I shouldn't be sweating that, because chances are there will be something else glued over that. So if I have a little straight edge that bugs me, I should get over it. Yeah, so like I said, that's the advantage of a poor memory. Everything is new. So I hope that you are well. I hope that you are crafting. I have to say, one of my favorite types of videos to watch. Well, I have a few. I like the thrifting ones, even if sometimes it makes me think, oh, I wish that was mine. And the other type I really like are the studio tours, the organizational ones, and so I watched the Angela Care one, one today, and of course, she does the lacy or the kind of very feminine pastel kinds of colors and projects, and and what I liked about her video, and I said so in the comment that I made, is that she actually talked about the dimensions of her room. Because to me, I always think, well, okay, but how big is your space? If your room is 20 by 20, that's a far cry from 10 by 10. So she did talk about the size of her room, and it wasn't very big compared to probably North American standards, because we tend to have more real estate. But yeah, it was all so clean and organized and tidy. And I'm thinking, clearly that works for her. But is that something I would be able to... Oh, is that something I would be able to... Damn it. Would I be able to maintain that? Probably not. I'm going to glue this and see how it goes. Not ideal, and you can see how that two-sided tape peeled the surface of the... Yeah, I'm going to have that white patch there. Maybe I could slide this over here. Because this paper is fairly thick, I shouldn't probably be overlapping it anyway. Because, oops, it's making it fairly thick. Yeah, so I'll have to make sure that I either trim that off or, cover that little bald spot with something. I should say, in case you haven't already noticed, I'm using this Yoo-Hoo glue stick. I find that it works for my needs most of the time, really quite reliably. And that, I know I've said this before, I buy it from an art supply store in Edmonton, Alberta. They have sales, they have sales regularly. And when it's on sale, it's the 40-gram tubes, which are these big ones. Yeah, 40 grams, 1.4 ounces, are under, let's see, is it under $2? Or around $2. So I buy them by the box full, the 12 to a package. And that way, regardless of how much gluing I'm doing, I know that I am in good shape for glue until the next sale. They always have one for back to school and, well, obviously other times during the year as well. Probably maybe every second month or so. You'll notice that I turn this around periodically just to see what, to kind of get a different look at the, papers. They really don't like these pointy corners, so that's why I'm trimming. And again, the shape necessitates, this is so good, this is still good, necessitates the, more smaller pieces to fit in those little weirdo shaped openings. Okay, how are we doing for time? Oh, I should speed it up here a bit. Do I want more of that there? The beauty of these more neutral papers is that they give the eye a resting place. See, you would never have this problem at home if you were collaging, because you wouldn't be trying so hard to use this stuff like I am. probably a little too big. Let me try to straighten this out a bit. Oh, that looks like I chewed at it. Anyway, it is early March here in Alberta. Well, I guess it's early March everywhere. And there's some snow in the forecast. I think we're probably going to get about 4 inches tomorrow, which is Thursday. And so Friday night, Saturday, I think we're supposed to get several inches. I have to say, as a March baby, I know that March is usually full of surprises. You can think, oh, spring is within sight. Oh, it's so great. And then realize that, oh my goodness, that March wind, it can just eat a hole in you. And I don't want to come across as a weather crybaby, because I think too many people complain about the weather and scare off people. I know I've talked to Americans who are, driving a cab or in the service industry or just, whatever, just engage in conversation with them. And you mention the word Canada and people kind of lose their minds and think, oh, it's so cold, like that we're all Eskimos. Well, no, we're not. Clearly those people who live closer to, say, like the BC coast, have a more temperate climate. Those who live closer to the U.S. border have, certainly better temperatures than we do. Like, I don't even know what our I should Google that and see what latitude I live at. Anyway, if I were speaking on behalf of Tourism Alberta, Travel Alberta, I would say that this is a wonderful place to live. Number one, because it is safe and sane most of the time. And we still have 4 distinct seasons. I might have to give up on this edge. How long can you watch me struggle? Yeah, we have 4 distinct seasons. So if that appeals to you, it's pretty hard to have spring and summer and all of that if you don't actually have winter. Like, how can you tell the difference between the seasons if you don't have? What was I trying to do here? Does anyone know? Does anyone know what I'm doing? Yeah. So I'm going to have a problem here too with that. Well, maybe not. I was going to say with that damn tape. So I can, maybe I should do it like so. Okay, let's glue something down because this is, I guess it pretty well has to go this way. Of course, it's too narrow there. Do I care about those angles? Do you see how a piece can get smaller and smaller and smaller? And didn't I just finish saying that the plainer patterns and the larger pieces give your eye a place to rest? And what do? I keep trimming until it gets teeny tiny again. So kids, do as I say, not as I do. Okay, a few more and I am going to call it done. These are itty bitty pieces too. That's too close to that one. Maybe I should try to make this fit here somewhere. Oh, that's pretty good. I don't know. Can you see what I'm doing? I'm going to put that there. How's that for decisive? Again, if I was a typical masterboard would not give me these little itty bitty, what is that, a trapezoid or some darn thing? You know, it's just kind of crazy. I guess if there is an advantage to this tape and the fact that I'm pulling it off, it does make the paper a wee bit thinner. So the masterboard itself doesn't become quite so you know, bulky. I guess I should get rid of this white edge since I really don't have any other white edges anywhere. I sometimes really like that look and deliberately do it, but it's a bit late in the game to throw one wild card piece in there that has a white edge when nothing else does. And I think like this little circle here, this little triangle here, I'm not going to worry about those because I'm going to assume that whatever I use, do I want a solid perhaps? I'm going to assume that whatever decorating I do will cover that up. I think that's the only piece I have like that. What is behind this purple stripe? No. Hey, how come that's got a white background? I'm asking you as though you'd know. So let's get rid of these holes. Let's try to peel some of this tape off. Let's rip some of this off. another pie-shaped piece. Boy, that's pretty close. I'll put it here, though. And that will be good there. And we're almost done. Once the glue dries and once the pieces are cut into whatever. Oh, and the other thing a person can do with a masterboard is just, trim it slightly to use it as a cover because, oops, where did, now I've lost that piece. There it is. It's going to have some stability. However, a person, really should let the glue dry before reefing on it, like I just did. And, another way to give it a little more oomph and some aesthetic, a different aesthetic look, and to help with, hold it all together, depending on the quality of glue that you used, is to sew around whatever pieces you end up with. If I cut this tape off, I'm going to lose most of those roses. Anyway, I was talking about March. So March can be surprising. There's that old wives' tale about, is it coming in like a lion or a lamb? To be honest, I don't even remember what March 1st was like, to be honest. But, it is what it is. There will be some biting cold winds, but there will be some gorgeous days, and the days are longer. Daylight saving time ends this weekend. So it is going, see if I just do it like that. Yeah. That's the plan. Damn tape. Sometimes I think about the people that, are, have green grass already, have some spring flowers emerging or thinking of emerging. But do I want that for myself? Maybe not. For those of us that live in this colder climate, quite often, some people who have the means and the time, and retired or whatever, and have some money, tend to become what we call snowbirds. They have properties or, timeshares or go to resorts or whatever. No, I guess they would have to have a property to make it work financially. Go south, usually to the U.S. for several months of the year. We've never had that because we're still actively grain farming. but before COVID, would at least go, to a resort, an all-inclusive resort or someplace, or something like that in Mexico, and get a taste for some warmth on our skin and a break from the routine at home. But I don't know. Somehow travel has sort of lost its appeal in many ways. Okay, I get a little itty bitty thing there, but I'm not going to worry about that because I said I wasn't going to worry about that, so I'm not going to worry about that. The reason that this glue kind of hangs in there better too is the fact that apparently it's the only one, I think that's part of their shtick, the only one that has a screw top. So as long as you remember to screw the top back on, it tends not to dry out. So that is what, that's a little thing that we'll need covering too. So that is basically what I've done today. Some of it off camera, some of it with you. I still, look at that, I still have a pile of this stuff. So I guess I'm going to, maybe instead of Masterboard, maybe I'll just glue it onto some other, cardboard or whatever for tags. But anyway, that will conclude this day, or this 100-day project. Oh, how did I allow that straight edge there? Couldn't you have told me? I got another one here. Oh, well, I'll have to break that straight edge up with some embellishments. Anyway, thank you for joining me, and I hope that regardless of what, with a theme or without, I hope that you are choosing to do, I hope you're choosing to craft every day and to increase the likelihood of creating some discipline and getting into the crafting habit. It is good to think about the 100-day challenge because how those behavioral people always say that it takes 21 days to make a new habit. So by the time a person has done this for 100 days, it'll be like second nature. It'll be like breathing. It'll be like oxygen. I have to breathe. I have to craft. So anyway, I'm going to stop there. Thank you, and we'll see you next time. Bye.